Hello, City Skylines fans. I'm Socksway Up, and I wanted to start off today's episode of Salt River Valley a little differently. We're going to kind of go over a little live play to begin with to see where we've been, kind of show you what I've done away from camera, and get you caught up on what we're going to do today. Let's let the city play a little bit so things can move around. Last episode, we finished detailing some of this area around I-10 and Evans Churchill. This is all Salt River Valley, but Evans Churchill district right through here. It actually, I think, extends a little bit farther. So our plans soon are to extend out here. You can see all the roads are starting to get laid out. They'll change a little bit, but this is where the heart of downtown is going to be. And then you can see I was building out a little bit for scale, going way out here, seeing how far we can get. It's not as far as I was hoping. We got a lot of distance to the corners, which will be interesting as we build out, but we'll have to change a little bit. Like I said in the last video, we're going away from 1-to-1, but I want to try to do it as true to Phoenix as possible. We got this interchange here. I-10 does curve right here. There's going to be loop 202 starts here. Interstate, I think it's Interstate 51 starts right here, but it's the 51 is what we call it. So there's going to be a pretty cool stack interchange right there that we're going to work on. And right here is where I-10 and I-17 mix. I-17 then wraps back around down here and connects up with I-10 again. So there's going to be this nice little loop here that locks in all of downtown, gives you lots of options to get in. And I think that's going to be the plan today. We're going to start with this interchange, potentially get to this interchange. Lots of freeways today. We'll see how far that gets us. Potentially we'll start building some of downtown. If not, that will definitely be next episode. All right, so we decided to do the I-10, I-17 stack, and that one's a more simple, just traditional right side of the freeway. There's exits that take you to, northbound and southbound of the other freeways, and or westbound and eastbound, depending on the direction you're going. And I thought that was a good way to start because the I-10 51 202 interchange is going to be a lot more challenging. There's exits on the left side of the freeway and right side of the freeway going both directions. I tried making that in the past and it was a pain. One of the things I did want to mention is prior to making this series, I spent about maybe 8 hours playing around with the CSUR, the City Skylines Urban Road mods or assets, and those things are gorgeous. The learning curve was a little challenging. I decided not to use those because of the learning curve pretty much, and it was just slowing down my progress. Though at this point, as I'm starting to add these freeways, I kind of wish I would have gone with those road assets, and hate's a strong word. I dislike making interchanges myself. If anyone else has the same struggles as me, I think I'm just not patient enough with these type of things, but it comes along okay. I think it'll look a lot better when we get to the detailing phase of it, but I wanted to get this built out so I can start building the large industrial district that's right by this area. It is really cool. There's a ton of railroads that intercross with each other, so we'll have some fun with some railroads, and I think at that point, it's going to really start showing the diversity of the town. It's not just this downtown that we're trying to build, and how it blends into the large sea of suburbs that are coming very soon in some of these videos, as you'll see in the upcoming months or so. But some of the things I'm struggling with right now is in this part of the video is getting the height of everything lined up correctly. And I love Move It. It lets me kind of just play around with where I want things and eventually drag them around and then recreate roads when we get it closer. And I don't know. Again, interchanges and myself are not the biggest friends, and some of these exits and transitions just don't look right. But we do have the node controller where we get to change the size of the intersections, which makes it look a lot smoother, as you'll see later on in this video or this time lapse. It does turn out a lot better than I anticipated. This was going to be the first episode. I was gonna build all of this out. I was gonna build a ton of infrastructure for the entire series, and I kind of chickened out. I knew I wanted to start with the tunnel, but I also wanted to do all of this infrastructure in that same episode, and I don't know. Like I said, I chickened out, but we're here now. It has to get done, and it's going to turn out great as long as I'm patient enough. So that's the thing. I'm crossing my fingers right now that I can keep the patience going and just, figure out which parts of these silly videos to show. Did I really need to leave all of that in? I don't know. But yeah, you can see my struggles since we're trying to line things up and keep going, and it's yeah, you can probably hear it in my voice. I did not have the best of time with this build, but this is how it turned out. I would say this was like phase 1 of 5, and we jump back into a time lapse, and I start redoing some of these roads a little bit to get us a better curve. Because the initial pass was just getting everything connected the way I wanted to, and now this phase of some of these time lapses are me trying to make it look better, make it look more realistic, more finished, and I think that'll come when we start detailing around, like I said earlier. All right, here's where some of the detailing starts coming in. We're adding some retaining walls, which this is the first time I've used these assets, and they are so neat how they'll go at an angle like you see, you know. So when the height of the freeway does change, we can have these retaining walls change with it as well, so that it's not just a straight build or a straight fence. And these assets are great, and I'll put a link in the description if I remember on these retaining walls, and they look pretty similar to the ones that we have in this area of Phoenix, so it worked out perfect. So what you're seeing right now is, as I mentioned in the last video, I'm trying to figure out how to edit down these clips to be just more interesting and not as long and drawn out and tedious. And so let me know what you think. Definitely a different approach here. This is probably about 3 hours of gameplay narrowed down into about a 6-minute clip, or maybe a 5-minute clip. And yeah, let me know what you think. Is there more details that you wanted? Are you enjoying the ones in the past? Do you think we got it? I think we got it here, because as I watched this a few times before I did the voiceover, I thought there was enough interesting things in here to keep everyone's attention. And here's the finished product for now. You can see these retaining walls are kind of all over the place, and they're kind of random where they are placed, and I'm gonna leave it that way. And here we forgot to finish one of our lanes that we're using the intersection marking tool for, so we just paste that in there and get it added. I need to go still finish that on all of them and make sure all the lines are lined up, but I am starting to get that in there as we go, so I can keep up with that. And that's just another little details that we need to keep track of in this city. All right, so I know I said we might get back to the downtown area, but I had a change of heart. We're gonna build out the industry area right here by this interchange, and I wanted to focus on just a smaller section of the city. And I even failed at that. This is actually too big for this video, I think. So we're gonna improve that moving along in the series. Bear with me, I'm figuring out how to make each of these episodes enough content, not too much, and to be an area that I can actually focus on within a given time frame to make a good detailed video on it. So that's what we're doing here. We're starting off by placing out the street layout of all this kind of oldish industry area that's probably was established well before some of the downtown area was. It's a little bit older than the rest of the town, and we have some railroads that we're going to get to later. But first, we're just kind of building the layout here, the street layout of where everything is going to go, and transition into starting to add some of those industry buildings here. And right here, I just laid down all of my options. I put down all the buildings that I was going to use in the area, and then we start eliminating the ones that we don't like and start changing the colors on the ones to make it look more how we wanted it to feel, and eliminating, like I said, eliminating buildings here, and start copying and pasting and laying out the industry area. So this area we're trying to create has a lot of white roofs, and I did the best I could with the buildings that I had in place, and I did a lot of shopping on the workshop, browsing on the workshop to find the buildings that I liked, and then I decided, you know what, let's just go with it. We got enough. I have enough assets installed on this game, and you'll see in some of the flyovers later, the frames per second are starting to struggle. The game is starting to struggle, so we gotta be careful on what we add to the city so that the game can actually last the entire series. But here we're adding in some more parking lots and starting to organize those buildings a little bit better to get to our final product here before we start laying down the railroad, which is coming up next, which I was really excited about. Getting all the railroad assets installed and playing around with those for the first time, and I've wanted to do that in previous videos when we were doing Chillhorn, and I didn't have the actual train assets or props to put down, and we have those today now, and you'll see that in a little bit. But we get that parking lot finished out. We copy some more buildings, and that's one thing that I'm starting to do is kind of copy and paste buildings all over the place because there's a lot of repeated buildings in towns, and at least towns I've been in, and it seems to work out pretty well for this build. Here we're just extending the city or the industry area a little bit more, and this is the point where I realized I bit off more than I could chew. I'm slowly figuring it out. We're gonna get there. We'll get there. Smaller areas are much more enjoyable for me to detail, and especially in the time frame that I'm trying to do these videos. And I feel like I'm repeating myself a ton in this video. I guess the word of the day is video. But the next section we're gonna work on is the railroad. I've been really looking forward to doing this since I looked at Phoenix, Arizona on a Google map scale. I've spent a lot of my life here, all my entire life in Arizona, and I've driven east to west a lot, going from the East Valley to the West Valley or the West Valley to the East Valley. And driving through this area, this industry area has always stood out to me. You can kind of see it when you're going on the freeway right there when you're passing the interchange. It's just surrounded by this large industry area that has a very dense, I guess, railroad station or railroad tracks, and that's what we're creating here. And this is the first time I've ever gone this detailed with railroads, so this was a learning curve for me. I wasn't really sure if I should be copying and pasting these, using roads to line things up, just lining it up by eye, making sure that the networks are, you know, straight with each other. And so it was fun. It was really enjoyable. I like the fact that this is pushing the limits and making me learn different aspects of the game. And some of the other things that we're going to be doing later on are going to be adding to that as well. There's a large cemetery on the other side of the highway from this that we're going to tackle next. And I think that one, well, not necessarily next, but we'll tackle that soon. That'll be fun to detail because it is a huge, probably a couple acre large lot that is just this huge cemetery that has a lot of details to it. It almost looks like a park when you drive by, but it is a cemetery. So that'll be fun to detail. And actually, it won't be like a game functioning cemetery. And those are the things I'm starting to learn is I'm building out areas that aren't necessarily like utilizing the services in the games because you don't have to worry about that when you're doing a detailed build. And those are some kind of brain blocks that I'm trying to get over with building a city this way. And I'm thankful for all of you to come along with on the ride with us as we figure this out and we get this detailed city going. And I'm hoping every episode gets better and better from here on out. And I would love to hear some feedback on how we're doing and if there's any ideas or changes that you'd like to see to the series, maybe even the music. If you don't like the music, let me know. We could change that up too. Speaking of music, I wanted to mention that this is Harris Heller's stream beats that we've been using in every video on this channel. If you're not familiar with it and you're enjoying it and wondering how to listen to it, you just search for Harris Heller on pretty much any music platform, Apple Music, Google Music, YouTube, Spotify, all of them. It's all over there. A ton of copyright-free music. I'm not getting paid to say this. I just think it's awesome to share what I'm using and what he's doing for the community, kind of counteracting some of the copyright issues that some big content creators have been running into. And it's very awesome, and it's good quality music as well, in my opinion. And there's a ton of different varieties of music and styles of music, as you probably noticed in the background of all these videos. There's a lot of different styles of instrumentals, and they're all copyright free, so it's awesome to be able to use them on YouTube. So we're almost done with I guess, the pre-detailing section of this video, and that's one of the things that I'm starting to do differently. The last few episodes, I was building each section and detailing it as I went, and it was very time consuming. I felt like, especially editing the video, it was so hard to edit the video. the new approach is going to be, we're going to build out the layout of a section, then we're going to put the buildings down, and then we're going to do a third phase of where we do detailing, and that's what we're doing here. So we did that first section where we laid out all the roads, and then this is our get all the buildings laid down, get the parking lots figured out. I mean, some extra parking lots will be added in the detailing phase, but that's kind of what we're doing and going to move forward. And I think that'll help limit the length of the videos, because I felt like the first two were a little bit too long for what I really want for this series. It's a learning curve. I'm going to get over it though. All right, speaking of detailing, here we go. I got to play around with trains. Who doesn't like playing with trains? I don't know. It sounds like a thing old men do and young kids. I don't know. But yeah, so this is the first time I've ever, gone through these assets, and maybe now that I think about it, the game's struggling because the hundreds of trains that we've added to the collection here, but they come out cool. They look awesome. I love the way they look there. And as I was mentioning earlier, where there's a lack of functionality and services, those are just going to sit there. They're not actually a train track. There's not actually a depot or a cargo hub that's going to come in through here. Eventually there might be, but those are going to be very stationary. And here we're adding just a little bit of graffiti. There's, some hooligans, I guess you could say, that came around and added their artwork to the walls here, kind of similar to the Evans Churchill area. And here we're adding some stain and some just aging the concrete. We might have gone overboard again, but I decided to edit out a lot of that and just kind of show you, what we're doing. We're adding some oil, we're adding some stain, we're just aging the concrete. We had some cracks later, but then we skip forward to a more finished product here. And some of it repeats a little too much because I am actually using Move It to kind of copy and paste some of it to speed up the process, which I think is pretty nice, but we'll find a middle ground here. And again, like, we laid down the buildings, but as we go into this detailed phase, we're adding in a little more buildings as part of the detail to make it complete and make it look like more of a final product. So this is one of the cargo terminals or cargo train stations that we added in from the workshop that we added in here, and we're putting some cargo around it. Maybe this stuff's gonna get loaded on a train later and get shipped out of town. Maybe it's just been here for years and abandoned. I don't know. Use your imagination. But we're putting some stumbling. We're putting some trucks down, some semis, and some other work trucks here to just add to the detail of the area and finish the area out and make it look complete. And then this section, we're gonna add some semis, like they're backing into these places. They do say for lease. Maybe they just got purchased and they're starting to move into this new building and get things up and running for the complex and, straighten out the buildings there. They're a little overlapped and get the semis put in the right place. And then I was looking for the tire decal, so I can, at this point, you can show this is where the trucks have been coming and going. And even though we've overworn out the concrete with the other decals, I still think it comes out nice and you can see it from above really well. And then right here, we start adding a fence. So this is an area we wanted to enclose and kind of just give an opening for the trucks to come in and out. And then in the back side here, we also add maybe some unmarked employee parking, and we're gonna add a little bit of a gate that doesn't necessarily match, but I think it worked out. Pretty good. We placed it down right there so you can see at night, maybe they lock it up and close up shop. But in the meantime, it's open for people to come and go as they please. And we add some more dumps and details in here. Dumpsters. They're called dumpsters. But we're adding in those details in here, and then we also start adding in some vehicles to show that there is some life around this area. It's not a completely abandoned industry area. So we had some of the work trucks, and then we had some normal, regular, I guess, the workers' personal vehicles where they're parking in the background here when they're at work, and then they leave through the gate at night. So in this section, we're just doing a little bit more aging of the pavement and adding some cracks all over the place. This might be my favorite part of the video. Right here, we're building a kind of a dump slash junkyard that was abandoned a long time ago. This little section of town, it looks like they walled it off because they just wanted to leave it that way. It's got a lot of these abandoned vehicles in it. The ground's not finished. It's just dirt on the ground. There's going to be some maybe overgrown trees and plants in here long term. But just a lot of a lot of old cars that are just rusted out and been left there forever. And right here, we're going to add a little bit of shrubs to kind of show that it's just been more. I think it made it look more abandoned, and that's what I wanted to do with that area. And here we're just adding in a little more concrete, and some of these plain paved roads work really nice with this pavement because you don't see them when we're finished, but the cars can actually drive on them, which is exactly what I wanted for this area. Is not complete. These roads I wanted to kind of blend in with the pavement, so it kind of shows that cars kind of just drive wherever they want in this large concrete island or concrete slabs here that they have. And it turned out pretty nice. And then here's some of that copying and pasting I was talking about with the decals. So I just, I use Move It to select a bunch of them, and that looks kind of cool on the dirt. I almost left it that way, but we just copy and paste them instead of having to place them down one by one. The bad side of that is they do repeat themselves a little bit in the end. All right, to close out this video, we're gonna do a little bit of a live view in here. We're gonna kind of go over, this is where we started. We made this interchange. I made some tweaks to it, had to remove some of the retaining walls. I like the way it works. It looks, I think it looked bad when it was by itself, but now that there's buildings around it, I think it turned out pretty cool. This railroad area, the train station area looks pretty sweet. Again, I was looking forward to building this part of the city, and it's fun to actually get to do that and break away from the monotony of just building that downtown area. Some of the little details where we got some wood there, some oil stuff. It's a mixed industry area where they're shipping a lot of things out. Some stuff's coming in. We still got to connect all the railroads, both directions. We'll get that up and going and live eventually, and the rest of this area is going to extend to be more detailed industry as well. This was fun to build. The roofs, we got them white, matching what we wanted. We got some employee parking in the back. Very cool details. Right here, I think we went a little overboard with the decals. We might erase some of those in the future. When I looked at it in this view, it looked a little disturbing, but this junkyard turned out great. I love the way it looks, and it kind of stands out because it's one of the only things that's not concrete. And these areas those areas there aren't developed yet. Some of it's not finished because some of it might be abandoned. Some of it might be replaced long term because as the city grows, maybe they need more industry in this area, and there's some more room for things to grow. But all in all, this was a fun episode. It was a nice change from building the downtown area and the commercial office buildings, and I'm glad we did it. I'm glad we transitioned to it. I want to thank everyone for hanging out this long. Secret word of the day is going to be transition. Use the word transition in the comments if you made it this far in the video. I want to thank you for joining. We'll see you next time. As always, I'm Socks Way Up, and have a good day.